All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition, a very special edition of the Wednesday Golf Show here for the RBC Heritage. Got my guy Hoop with me, and we have a special guest. Get to Chris in a second here. Our guy C. Hearn, 1183 on DraftKings, won the Mega Milli on Sunday for the Masters. Just an incredible feat at an incredible event. We'll bring Chris in here in a second. Before we do, reminder on the way in, smash the like, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be talking about over $1,100 in giveaways today. So there's lots of stuff there. Shout out to Chris for the generosity. Our guy, Matt Wage, will bring that stuff up after. But Chris, you are our guest. I'm going to bring you in first, man. Guys, this is Chris C. Hearn, 1183 on DraftKings. Huge Sunday for you, my friend. Thank you so much for doing this. How you doing, Chris? What's going on?
I'm good, fellas. No, I appreciate you guys having me. Like I said, been a long-time fan, follower, you guys. So happy to see the success the nation's having.
Yeah, thank you, and congrats again. People don't know, they wouldn't know this. I'll let them know up front. It's crazy. Chris is a founding family member. He was the 12th person to join SHIPIT Nation. Our 11-month anniversary was on Monday there. We talked about it. May 15th, coming up on the one-year anniversary. The 12th person to join the nation was C. Hearn, 1183, our guy Chris. He joined with the Founding Family annual package. Hoopster, bring you in, man. We're going to talk some golf later, but I'm coining this. I think I trademarked it. A minterview. We're going to do a mini interview with Chris, go through it all, talk through. Our members had some questions. I know you and I have some stuff, but how you doing, Hoop? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, first off, congratulations to Chris, and thanks obviously for coming on and doing this. We appreciate it. It's just the ultimate story in DFS. I mean, this is why a lot of people play. I mean, you want to have that big hit, you want to get that life-changing hit, and man, when it's realized, it's so exciting. And in our community, this is what, the third or fourth, right? I think
at least the third.
okay.
Yeah, we had Dalton, who did an interview with us early on in NFL. Our guy Mark, who was part of Masters weekend as well, he shipped round one slate for Showdown. He won a milli, and now Chris gets the job done at the Masters as well. Yeah,
just awesome to see. And, obviously we appreciate the support. Chris has been with us from the beginning, part of our community. And it was an awesome week, obviously, a lot of huge wins. We talked about it round one, round two, round three, and then, popped off with the milli on Sunday. But this is the exciting stuff. Love having these, what are you calling them? Interviews, right?
Interview.
Yes. Love these, because I think the people like it. People want to see like the inside, behind the scenes, things that go on when you're sweating a milli, how you celebrate, what went into the process to building the team, like that sort of stuff is super exciting to talk about and learn about. And, that's the plan here. And then we'll get in and talk a little golf this week, which another signature event right after the Masters.
Yeah, shortened field. So we'll still get through all that, guys. Stick with us for later about the giveaways, all that. Shout out to my guy Go Collect, reminding me just a couple of Milli Maker winners, and your boy Tambo here chilling. So we appreciate you. Another great member of the community. Go Collect, actually, first 5-figure score in PGA last week. So shout out to him as well. Won the $100 single entry for $10K. Just an awesome week overall. But Chris, let's talk a little bit about this. And I think people want to start with probably your background. I know everyone wants to get to the fun stuff. We'll get to the sweat, the pit and throat type feel, the stomach rumbling, all that stuff down the stretch. But talk to us first off just a little bit about your background. Like how long you've been playing DFS. I mentioned you being a part of the nation for 11 months. We appreciate it, but just a little bit about your DFS background, career, if you will, and what you've been doing in it up to this point before the milli.
Yeah, I've always dabbled in DFS, right? But I wouldn't say, and not that I'm saying like I'm a competitive player now, but when the Rainmakers product came out about 2 years ago, I had a little extra cash on hand and saw that as an opportunity that I can maybe take advantage of and make some money there. So once I did that, you got to invest in that quite a bit. I really tried to hone in kind of my process and get better at DFS and just the Rainmakers product too, to make sure like, hey, I invested in this. I want to make some money back at least, and then hopefully make some money on top of that. So I would say for about the last 2.5 years, I've really, if we want to say grinding, right? But been probably putting, I don't know, 15 hours on top of my 40 to 50 hour work week on the side, just trying to make some money in DFS.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the biggest questions came out of the members, at least, was about the Mega Million, the single bullet, right? I always had the joke. I said, yeah, he locked 6 guys and he faded the rest of the field. And I know some people take it serious. I feel bad when I do that. I just, when someone says I have 33% of a guy and I'm like, how many lineups? So I played him in one of my 3. It's not a shot against playing less lineups. It's more of just the fact that you can only play so many. So are you typically a single entry player and you were comfortable with that going in, just saying, I'm going to run it this way, whatever happens, happens? Or what do you usually play on a week-to-week basis?
Yeah, so I won that ticket through a qualifier. So if I wouldn't be, I'm not the guy who's entering a 22-22. I usually play somewhere between 5 to 10 lineups, and usually bankroll probably around $1,000 on DFS per week. But yeah, I hand build everything. I'm not an MME guy. I guess, I play a lot of lineups and Rainmaker stuff, but in terms of DFS, I'm very small player pool. And really what stuck out to me this week, Hoop said it probably 15 times. I was focused on trying to create a lineup where everyone was going to finish top 20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in that sort of event last week, I mean, it was very key. I mean, anyone, and it's true, anyone that, especially if you're hand building teams, like you needed to make the case for that person finishing in the top 20 and likely in, the top 15 range. And, lucky enough for you, all your guys fit that criteria.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that maybe then too. Like for example, I think so you can round it out for me, but the lineup was definitely Scotty, Oberg, Bryson, Kirk, Shank, and Fleetwood. Was that the lineup? Yeah. Okay. So talk to us a little bit about that. Yeah. So our guy, shout out to Kevin. Benet, another guy in the Discord, says another hand builder. I like it. He's a good dude. Met him also at some of these, just at a recent event there in Phoenix. I met Chris last year at the 3M, but talk to us a little bit about your lineup itself and just the process of building it, how you went about it, knowing that you won it from a ticket as well.
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to play Scotty in this lineup, and then for some reason I was stuck on Oberg, DeChambeau, Fleetwood. Like those were my guys that I definitely wanted to play. And the way that then the roster filled out from there, I had to go lower with a lower play. Shank at 6,200. I knew everybody else was going to play Denny. And then if you look at the last 5 events, Denny compared to Shank was a no-brainer for me. And the projections were within 3 points, I think, of Denny versus Shank. That's a birdie in DFS. And then based off of what Shank had done, the last 5 tournaments, Shank was the guy. And then I always play Kirky too. Like I play a lot of Chris Kirk. So that's how I landed on him.
Yeah, I love the construction, and the Shank point last week was one that I was high on as well. Like we knew Denny had nothing left to do that previous week than to just fire at pins. It just happened to work out for him to get into a playoff with Akshay. Didn't end up winning, but it was like kind of, that was one round a lot of people were basing it off of. We'll get to the RBC Heritage later, where it's funny. This week is all like, did you do well at the Masters? Let me play you. If you didn't do well at the Masters, you're the worst golfer on the planet. Funny how quick those things turn. But I kept saying that if you looked at Shank, it was like the results had actually been pretty much the same or better for what have you done for me lately, but the ownership was not going with it. So I like that you found that leverage, you committed to what you had up top. I think, that's one of the first things I saw and stood out. Hoop, did you have any other questions on the lineup itself or anything else that you wanted to ask Chris? I got some other the member questions too. So
did it zero out salary? Do you know for sure? That's one thing I didn't see.
I think I had 100 left over.
100 left. Okay. Yeah. But I do like the Shank thing because we talked about it a lot, on the show. I mean, it was very clear everyone's just going to Denny McCarthy in that spot at that price tag, same price. And love Shank. And, I guess a little biased because I always play Shank. And, he's had solid results. But, yeah, Denny had that T second. But outside of that, like you said, Shank was beating him at every other event and a lot of high-end finishes. So I definitely like that play. the Chris Kirky thing. You know, I'm a Chris Kirk guy. I always play him. Somehow I didn't end up with as much of him last week as I typically do, which was a little bit of a disappointment. But everyone else in that lineup, I think, made a ton of sense. You know, for me personally, I was higher on Connors than Fleetwood. That would have been an issue, obviously, if I was hand building, because I probably would have just plugged in Connors in that spot. But good team all around, obviously. And yeah, huge win.
Yeah, this question here, Chris, is good. Andrew's our guy. He's in Discord. Chief 2515 says Shank was also leverage playing the Stone, but more so than that, just I will say he asked about how you use the tools at SHIPIT Nation, but like when you sent me again yesterday, actually reminded me of it back like a DM we had over Twitter. Like again, same first day mentioned earlier with the 12th guy in. It wouldn't be a SHIPIT Nation show without a little bit of marketing and talk just about the site itself. You mentioned that you sort of liked what Hoop and I were doing and getting involved with something like that. What is sort of your take on SHIPIT Nation from when you first joined it back in May till now, how you've used it, maybe differences if you are with other sites or saw that stuff? We're not a us against the world site. We have lots of partnerships and friendships out there. So just curious how you do use the site and what your thoughts are on how things have grown from when you joined day one to now 11 months later.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to see, you know, the growth of what you guys have done over the last 11 months. I mean, the tools are awesome. The value report gets out early. The Stone, ever since that came over, yeah, that's the Stone is kind of a consolidated all in one place, to where you kind of get an idea of those sleepers or pivots that I think are very, very beneficial, along with the high leverage. You know, the value report, like I said, and the projections are accurate. It's just really helped me just be more profitable of a DFS player since I joined the site. And, you know, as you guys have continued to evolve, it's only gotten better.
Yeah, appreciate that. Obviously, you know, we stick to the same thing we talked about from day one. We, you know, when we first started, because you were there, you know, it was very limited sports that we had. We said our goal is going to be to continue to improve and add on. We think we've done a pretty good job of that and just trying to keep it growing, keep as much, you know, give as much value. I always say to Hoop when we're having our little business chats, I say, let's just keep punching them in the face with value. Give the max amount of value, and we don't need to change the price for that to be the case. Let's add on, and then, you know, eventually it'll be there's so much there. Everyone sort of picks and chooses what's best for them. But we always ask for like free membership giveaways. What's your favorite thing on the site? And I think you said it, like the Stone. Shout out to our guy James. Talked to him the other day, by the way, doing really. I mean, you guys saw him on the feed last Wednesday. Grinded it out, got that done, and he said he'll be back for the PGA Championship. Took a little bit out of him, but keep him in your thoughts and prayers. Keep sending out your love for him. But bringing that Stone over, I said, you know, we shortened it to the Stone because it's the Degenerate 75 and all that. And I said it's the Stone nuts, like just having everything in one place and then being able to make those comparisons. Like you mentioned, definitely a thing last week that Andrew mentioned, was like you could see Shank was a leverage play to what was around him, but you could also see why. A lot of people say, oh, good leverage play. Okay, why though? Well, that will tell you right there. You can see the ownership gap. You can see the stats, the projection, the ceiling, his tee time, whatever else you want to see that's important to you. It's all right there in one place. I just thought that was interesting, and, you know, love to hear that stuff about what you've seen there. Some of the other questions, one of them that came up was obviously about the sweat. Shout out to our girl, Kim, another founding family. She was day one as well. And she says, this was funny for those that don't know or didn't see the graphic. When Chris wins, we've already been seeing like our guy Scarface came in fourth, JMWSHC came in third in the Mega Millie, and 2012 champ, who's in the Discord, came in sixth. We're all like, right on, and no one put two and two together. And all of a sudden, Chris jumps in our Discord and goes, I did a thing today. And he drops the Millie Maker screenshot. So Kim asked, at what point did you know you were going to do a thing? And then, like, did you know for a while? What, like, walk us through that Sunday and how it kind of shook out, because I think you told me it was still pretty late in the day, as it usually is with PGA, that you need to be sweating it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know until Morikawa went behind the tree on 18, because there was still, I mean, my win wasn't by much, right? I mean, we're looking at birdie and then finishing points if he jumps someone, to where in the back of my head, and I've never been in that position before, to where it was so close and I had a legitimate shot at that type of money. I was just figuring worst case scenario. Like, I was like, Morikawa is going to do something stupid here and I'm going to lose this. So I didn't know until 18 that I was going to win it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Were you watching with anyone, or?
Yeah, I was. So luckily I went and played a round of golf with my buddies at 10.
Oh, there
So
you go.
I got back at around 2:00, right in time, when Shank and Kirk were out there and pretty much all the guys were out there. I didn't look at my phone until I got home. And then I turned it on and tried not to look at my phone. I tried to just watch golf. One of my buddies who I played golf with came over and kind of sweated it with me. And then my wife got home with our girls around 4:35. And she started watching it too. And we all kind of just were on, pins and needles, just watching every shot.
Yeah. Did the
shout out to our guy Mark F. Quick, the guy we talked about earlier, won the Millie earlier in NFL. He says never watch, fall asleep and find out. And it's kind of like feels like you don't think about it. The Max Homa quote last week was, "If I catch myself thinking about what can go wrong, I let myself dream about what can go right." That's not easy to achieve. I can tell you that much. You always, like you said, just for some reason think about, oh, I just make this. If he misses this putt, I'm screwed. Is the first thought more than if he makes this, I win. That's oftentimes how most people's mentality is. So it is funny when you don't watch, it feels like everything's seemingly like, oh, it kind of went my way because you didn't sweat it or see all the stuff that went wrong.
No.
Yeah, I don't think I would have been able to go to sleep during that.
Yeah. The other thing was, that's a good one.
These comments are great.
The funniest thing is how when somebody wins big, the Discord automatically turns into like accountants and tax quotes and everything. Oh, don't do this. And here's what you need to do with your money and make sure you find these slips and all that. All of a sudden, all the tax people come out into the Discord. Yeah. I was curious too. Another question that was asked, Chris, was DFS wise. I know the Rainmaker stuff, the live finals there, all of that. But in DFS, playing on, whatever, what was your biggest score before the million? Or what was something else that you had happen that was like a big day for you in DFS specifically?
Yeah, in DFS, I've won, I think 10,000 once, 15,000 once. I'd won 50K in Rainmakers before, but this by far was my biggest hit.
Oh, of course. Anything you're going to do special with the money? That was another one that came up quite a bit, right? Everyone wants to spend your money for you right away. I mean, the tax people, like I said, will tell you to put some away, of course, and good advice. Our guy Nick's in here, always tell half the real amount. I think it's like, when people tell their quote unquote number, like you multiply for this, you divide for that. It's kind of like the thing when people talk about money, I feel like that's the same way, right? You tell them a little bit different than what actually is, but anything special that you're going to be doing with the money after this big $1 million win?
No, I mean, I already talked to the accountant, talked to my financial advisor. I just parked it in a money market account for right now. And I'm just going to sit on it and think for a little bit, right? I mean, when you win something like this, it can be life-changing. And I got to make sure that I do the best I can to make sure it is for life-changing for me and my family. So,
definitely appreciate
good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, I like that. One question I did have was any sort of celebration? Like how did you guys celebrate?
I drank about half a bottle of scotch.
Perfect.
And Monday morning came pretty early, but no, just celebrated. And to me, like when you have these sweats and like Sunday afterwards, just talking about the what could be or what can be with your, with my wife and just dreaming. That's one of the coolest things for me, some of those dreams could now become reality. And that's a pretty good feeling.
Yeah, you can expedite things, if you were waiting on that or, some of the freedom side of things, definitely your options become available. So it's sort of what everybody dreams of or thinks of. But I mean, I asked that because a lot of people with these stuff with sites like ours, if you want to put it that way, will say, and I think we're doing it a different way. We talked about being focused on the process and getting better and understanding that it's not a game that is easy to win at. You do got to put in some work. It's like, some people sign up and win their first day. We would love for that to be for everybody, but we focus on the community, the support system, trying to help you skip over some of the mistakes you made along the way. But sometimes it's 11 months into your journey at a site and you win $1 million. Like that can happen too. We talked about, you're our third major millionaire winner that we at least know of that's in the Discord and been around and all that stuff. So I just think that's kind of part of people have to understand that it does take time. There is going to be stuff that, you go through along the way that you do have to struggle before you get to the top. So love to see that. Are you going to change anything you do now as far as people always ask us, like you win all this money, would you start going up in buy-ins? Are you going to play the 44s now that they pop up for the next majors. What's your thoughts on moving forward?
No, for me personally, I'll probably play less. Like I said, I've always done this to try and have a good ROI. I mean, I put a lot of time into, like we were talking, 10 to 15 hours a week, just trying to run through projections and, looking at it, trying to make money. And now that I've made probably the most money I can make, I'm not going to give it back. And that's just my stance. I'll still play. I've got, like I said, I won 6,000 outside of the millie. I withdrew the millie. I'll play. I'll still play, the usual $1,000 a week, but I'm not going to play anymore. That's just not my style.
Yeah, and I think it's a key thing to remember. We talk about it all the time, but with the bankroll management, the contest selection, it's oftentimes people get their biggest win after grinding it out, playing their normal stuff that they play every week. I'm not sure why you would change. Yes, it took longer. I think it's just because people, what I always find is people win their first big 10K or 100K or whatever it is, and then it's for some reason they just want to parlay it into a millie, like it's easy to do or something. It's like, what, you didn't need that kind of money to win this money. Yes, it took time, but lots of good things take time. So, patience is key. But you do have to remember that, you didn't need 10 grand a week to win $1 million. You got there, you won a ticket. How much was the satellite, by the way, that I mentioned earlier? I called it a ticket. I meant the qualifier or satellite that you played. What was the buy-in to win the ticket into the mega? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's 176.
Nice. And do you play those like maybe throwing one of those a week, or just when you see a certain tournament that you're interested in? How does that usually work?
Yeah, that's usually how it works. Like, ever since I've been to a few of these live events now, you want to get back. So I usually play one of those a week. Yeah. And then I saw that 22-22. And I thought that made some sense because I knew what was coming. And I wanted, if I could have a shot, right? I mean, because that's how I look at it too. In terms of becoming a millionaire, I had to beat 1,400 people. Mm-hmm. That's going to be my best odds at substantial money, gambling or whatever you want to say, right? Like, based off of the way I've been playing lately and having some success, like, I want to take that chance.
Yeah, we had a chat earlier in the Discord about it. Hoop and I recorded a 4-hour NFL education course back during NFL season that anybody who signs up becomes a member gets. This, we've added more courses as we go along, but there was a section of that called The Secret of Satellites. And I've said this forever, is like, again, play that, find your way to get it. You just increased your odds at getting that life-changing score. And for some people, that's winning their first 10K, 100K, whatever that might be. It's different for everybody, but I'm just saying in general, that's a setup where you can find your way into it for a fair price, not going crazy outside of your bankroll. And you just have to take that as the win. Even if you only won 10K, right? Maybe you didn't win the million, you get 10K, 176 to 10K. And the way you did it was get in through a satellite, get a little bit better than a min cash in the 22-22 when it's down to 1,400 people you're up against. You've increased your odds of getting the 10K in a $25 with 176,000 people or whatever it is. Like, it's way, way better off to do it that way. So I consistently talk about that, but I think it's great that you did it that way. Anything else, Hoop, that you had for questions? I got a couple more from others. We just want to jump you in.
There was one question in the chat asking what you do for a living. I mean, you obviously don't have to answer that, but thought that was interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm a national sales manager for a company that pretty much we do every and anything overhead, door, and dock related. So okay. I work with national clients, build out those programs, negotiate contracts. It's not glorious, but fell into it after college and have been doing it for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
I love
are your then you said you had daughters. Are they old enough to like understand the situation?
No, 8 and 5.
Okay. Yeah.
I think my wife said I won $100 to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've had so my son, when I won 2 years ago, so he would have been 7. And it was, I don't know, obviously he knew because he knows what I do, but like he's made a couple of comments to like friends along the ways about, me having $1 million. I was like, no, don't tell anybody that sort of, it's better to keep the number low. Like, I don't want anyone knowing. I'm a private person too. So it's, with the kids, that kid aspect is interesting.
All right. Well, you boys are getting me fired up because my daughter just turned 7 and my son is 4. So we're talking 8 and 5 over here. You're talking your son was 7. My Millie has to be around the corner after hanging out with all these millionaires. We do talk all the time, right, Chris? I mean, if you want to maybe comment on that a little bit, just about the community, because you're in there with everyone. But Hoop talked about it a lot on Monday, just about surrounding yourself with the right people, right? You know, that, like I said, you know, we try and keep the Discord pretty clean, professional, if you will, but everyone's there for the right reasons. It's a lot more. You'll wake up some mornings and be like, holy shit, I missed, you know, a couple paragraphs of people talking about process and getting better at the game and asking these different questions. Do you notice that as far as Discords? I'm not sure if you've ever been in any others, but the Discord focus around sort of, you know, a community based of people wanting to get better versus just throwing picks and plays around?
Yeah, it's completely different. I've been a part of other Discords, and I mean, at SHIPIT Nation, it's a lot of like-minded people talking about the same strategies and building processes. And I think another piece that's different is not only the two of you, but all of, you know, the people that work for SHIPIT Nation. I mean, Tambo, you probably don't remember this, but you helped me like win the qualifier in the Rainmaker thing, because we were talking. I had a decision to play Cam Young or not to play Cam Young, and you're like, play the talent, and I played the talent, and I got to a live final for that, and that's something that I think's a big difference. Is you guys are constantly in the Discord giving the advice, answering all the questions, and I don't think a lot of other places do that like the way you guys do it. I mean, everyone has access to you. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, appreciate that. That's the goal and the name of the game, right? We try and give back as much as we can, but always getting the feedback is nice, and other people hearing it and seeing it is just as well. So I had one last one, Hoop, and then I'll kick it to you. The last one somebody asked, which I thought was a good call. You did win this at a monumental event, the Masters, like the most well-known golf tournament in the entire world, it feels like. So are you good? Have you been to the Masters? And if not, are you going to take some of this money and plan a trip to bucket list it out at the Masters? I don't know if you've been there yet, though, before.
No, never been to the Masters. Won't do the bucket list thing.
Okay.
Like I was telling you guys before, I'm a pretty simple guy, right? Not a lot of wants. I don't, you know, I can watch it on TV and be good. I don't need to go rent the $5,000 a night home down there.
It's a bit much for sure. It's definitely like, again, cool bucket list item. I definitely would love to go, but it's like you said, it's got to be done the right way, and you definitely take care of your stuff. Everybody in the chat today has been awesome, just saying like this sensible answers. You got to respect it. Chris is a wise man. Definitely, again, a lot of respect for how you're talking about and how you're doing it. I think that's the key. Is like, again, you have a plan, you stuck to it, it paid off, and now you're not going to change anything just because you won $1 million, right? You stay focused, you get back to it. And like I said, maybe it expedites or helps you out with some of the other plans or things you wanted to do with your family. But that really, to me, is how it always should be. So I do love that for sure. Hoop, any other questions you have for Chris before we'll get him out of here and get on with the RBC Heritage stuff?
Yeah, no other questions. I mean, it's a great story. I mean, I love hearing the success stories like this, the inside information about, you know, how it all went down. I mean, my favorite part of these stories are always the sweating process, the celebration, and the family, like how it all, you know, connects together. And it sounds like pretty similar to my experience. I mean, I had my family with me. They're somewhat aware of what was going on. Didn't really check my phone all that much along the way, because it's like that's the worst feeling when you check your phone and you see you're winning like $1 million or whatever it may be, but then it comes all the way down to like a much worse number. Like you just don't want that feeling. So I'm kind of the same way, where I don't really, you know, dive in too deep until the end, and, you know, whatever happens. But, you know, either way, we appreciate the support at SHIPIT Nation. Very thankful to have you as a member being with us from the beginning. And, you know, hopefully this is, you know, one of many similar stories along the way. That's our goal, to, you know, make everyone better players themselves throughout this process, and, you know, provide a community where people are able to chat and make each other better as well. So congratulations and thank you for your support.
Yeah. And thank you so much for the generosity. We're going to talk a little bit in a minute here, but Chris actually is giving back $1,000. So huge giveaway. That's really what it's all about. We appreciate that. We're going to make sure it gets in the hands of a lot of members already. So the current members that have been with us, just like you, since day one, and then also the hands of some new members that join us. Chris, thank you so much. Any final thoughts from you, man? Anything else you want to say before you get out of here? Again, thank you for hopping on, and I hope this story helps other people. I mean, I love the sales story you said. I always say facts tell. We can tell them about our site all day, but the story sell, like make people know that it's a real thing that can happen. Like it's not just, it's not outside of the realm of reality. You can join a community, you can get better and work on your game, hone your craft, and you can have a big payout and have a win that means something to you. In this case, all the way to the top. I call it the ultimate SHIPIT, the $1 million. But thank you again, man. Anything else you want to say before you get out of here?
No, I just appreciate you guys and everybody on the SHIPIT Nation team. This probably doesn't happen without me being, part of the community. So I just happy to see you guys continue to succeed, and hopefully everybody has a good week this week.
Yeah, you as well, man. Good luck. Any pick? You got a pick for the RBC Heritage? We're not a picks and plays, but we, everyone's gonna say, what's the C Herd 1183 special? Chris, what do you got?
So I did play a lot of my gut guys this past week. I like Cam Young, I think, this week quite a bit.
That's our thing. Fun. That's the guy. Play the talent, right?
Yeah. So, we'll see how that goes.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you again so much. We appreciate it. We'll be in touch, and hit me up anytime. But you're in the Discord. People will be bugging you this week, so be ready for those tags, because now you're the millionaire friend. They want to hit you up for the plays. But thanks again, man, for hopping on. We appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right, Chris. Talk soon. Later, man.